Welcome back, Mary. When we last connected, you were just talking about leaving Manhattan and to move to Riverdale. Can you tell us more about that?
Right. The kids were getting older and into their teenage years, so we were close to them. So we were thinking that rather than be in a two-bedroom apartment, we should have a three or a four-bedroom house. And Peter and I started to look up in Riverdale because it was an area we liked. It was an easy run into the city from there, both by train and subway and car, and also by car. Alex was at Hunter High School and had tested in and was all set there. And so we were looking when he was about in ninth grade, and he stayed there through his senior high
Seventh grade
graduation. Seventh grade?
or eighth grade, because I was in fifth.
Okay, eighth grade. And Alex joined the carpool to Interchurch Center where I was working. So he rode with a couple of women and me down to, I think, 96th Street and took the bus across.
And why don't you talk about Interchurch Center? That sounds like an interesting thing.
Yeah, and so after St. Peter's, I had worked for the national offices of the Presbyterian Church for about 6 years, and then I worked for the mayor's office. And then I left there and went to work at Interchurch Center.
Which mayor? Which mayor was that?
For Mayor Koch and Dinkins. I was a specialist in economic development for the nonprofit sector.
That's great.
And then went to Interchurch to be the president and executive director there. And
Where was Interchurch Center? What was it?
it's up at 120th and Riverside Drive. It's a 19-story office building built for national headquarters of denominations and the National Council of Churches.
Mm.
And so we had 100 people on our staff, either directly or working for us through contract, and 1,800 people who work for tenants in the building, and ran a library and an overseas medical treatment center, so we could do medicine. Had 2 choirs and a first-rate lunchroom, and served about 1,500 people a day lunch. So it was a pretty big outfit, and I was there 8 years. And trying to remember what year I went to Union Seminary in 1998 and worked there in the afternoon and finished my final year at Interchurch Center by working there in the morning. So I would work from 7 to 1 or 8 to 1 at Interchurch, and from 1 to 6 at Union. And that went on for a year, and then when Joe Huff became president, I worked full-time.
That was quite a long day, wasn't it?
It was a long day, but I had plenty of stamina. I was doing fine. I would go to the gym in the evening. And much of that happened during the 15 years we lived in Riverdale. And the house was very beautiful. It had been built by an architect on spec, on speculation, so some of the finishes were cheaper than we would have liked. And Peter and I made some improvements to the roof line and that kind of thing, and we painted it. But it was a nice, spacious house with 6 bedrooms and a view of the Hudson River, especially from the second floor. And Alex and Nathaniel each had their own room, and they had a guest room, which was kind of a playroom, computer room, and it had a big storage area off of it where their books were kept. And we had a huge living room and formal dining room and a family room with a fireplace and back deck and great big kitchen.
So it was pretty big, huh?
It was pretty big, and a full basement, and I think we were all pretty comfortable there. It was a very pretty house, and soon after we moved in, even before the curtains were up, a movie crew came by and decided they wanted to use it for a movie called The Stuff. And so we agreed to that because Peter and I needed somewhat more money to pay bills. So they shot part of the script for this movie, which was about a type of tasty dessert that could be mined from upstate New York and eaten by people, and I think it hollowed them out and turned them into monsters. And something
Good
like that.
highbrow cinema, I'm sure.
It was highbrow cinema. So the 4 of us stayed in a motel a couple of nights while they were filming, and we got, I think, $1,500 for the shoot, which we thought was good money. And During those years, the kids were growing up and graduating from high school. Nathaniel got admitted to Bronx Science, and he had a lot of friends and went back and forth. And both of them got their driver's license. Alex after much practice, and Nathaniel mysteriously after no practice at all, and no one could ever figure out how he did learn to drive. But he just got in the car and drove away, and nobody knew how he learned how to drive, and doesn't know to this day how this happened. But I'm only explaining this so anybody watching him now can ask him, how did he learn to drive? Because he passed. We don't know why.
Just because I was better than my brother at driving.
You did not even take one lesson.
I was a natural.
You were natural. BS. I don't believe it.
Look, as a 39-year-old person, I can tell you I never drove without a license.
I don't believe it.
It's not. Why would I lie 20 years after the fact?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll continue from here.
We'll
Go ahead.
Continue from here. And I volunteered at the Riverdale Presbyterian Church on Sunday morning for many years. And when David Cockcroft retired, then I started to volunteer down at Fifth Avenue on Sunday morning, and when Tom Toole was the pastor. So I did that for like 8 years also. And that was really a useful thing to do, and I taught adult education classes down there. And let's see,
I guess the kids started going off to college, huh?
the kids went to college, and that was fun. Alex actually flew to the University of Chicago, so it was relatively easy. And when he got into graduate school, we drove him out to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And Nathaniel, Alex and I drove Nathaniel. And did Peter drive you too?
I can't remember.
College
Maybe.
the first year, but either some of us or all of us would drive Nathaniel out every year and pick him up at the end of the school year. So most of the time Nathaniel was coming and going in the family car, but not all the time. Sometimes he went with friends. And I think each one of them had kind of like an adjustment freshman year, and then got to love their schools, and to this day are very loyal to their schools. So Alex still loves Chicago, and Nathaniel still loves Carnegie Mellon, and he did a 5th year there and got an MPA degree. And everything kind of moved along pretty easily. Peter was freelancing part of that time, working for a company much of that time, and we were traveling more, and the family made a trip to Israel, which was very meaningful. And before that we had made a trip to France.
Mm-hmm.
But the trip to Israel was one where I believe we went to every Roman ruin in the nation of Israel.
Do you want to tell the story that we always like to joke about?
Well, the kids thought that I was way too busy making them go to monuments and stuff. But I don't see the point. Why would you go so far and sit and just talk and enjoy the place? You've got to go see everything. So that's what we did, because I was there.
Well, do you want to tell the story the way that the kids tell it, or do you want to tell it?
And you can tell it the way the kids tell it.
Well, what was the famous line that you had?
I didn't come here just to sit around.
Very nice. And how was France? Do you want to tell the kayaking story? That might be a fun one to tell.
Well, I think Nathaniel was 14 or so when this happened.
15, something,
15,
yeah, it was like
something
that.
like that. So Alex would have been 17, and we took about a 2-week trip of France, and really had a good time exploring the whole country. One of the things that we did was the 4 of us kayaked down the River Loire, in the vineyard area and the chateau area of France. I think that was the river. Anyway, all of us saw that a dam was coming, except Nathaniel, who was just so spaced out and having such a wonderful time in his kayak that he just kept going. And he didn't get out before he got to the dam. And so Alex and Nathaniel and Peter and I were standing on the bank, having come down river a little bit faster, and we saw Nathaniel cruise right up to the top of the dam. The tip of the kayak go over it, and Nathaniel go vertically down over the dam and then land at the bottom. Fortunately, not killed. And not really hurt. So pulled him out of the water, and that was that.
Sounds good. Why don't we leave it there for now, and we can continue in later years.